So this is my talk. Just kidding. All right, so this is our final talk, and after this we have an after party with an open bar, so please stick around. We also have, we're gonna have a bunch of announcements and prize winners and raffle winners and whatnot. We're just gonna pick from the list of names of people who pre-registered, so if you didn't pre-register, sorry. All right, so I'd like to introduce our last but not least speaker. Whoa. Yep. The illest of willest. There you go, OSINT.
All right, see if we can get this out. All right, today's talk is going to be about open source intelligence with a framework that I wrote with a couple friends. So we'll get this out of the way. Used to be an InfoSec outcast. I got a job a couple months ago, so I'm official. So I work for a telecom company doing red team and pen testing. We're looking for people that want to get a job there that can do that type of stuff. So if you're interested, come see me after the talk. Yeah. I'm XLLX on Twitter, GitHub. It used to be Pornhub, and then I found that somebody actually has that has some weird fetish with MILFs and chicks with hair. So that's no longer me. I run an old website, illmob.org, password recovery site, whatsmypass.com, pen testing wiki, churchofode.org, my personal site where I do like stuff with Arduino, Raspberry Pi, etc. And then I used to run tracksomebody.com, which was kind of like the basis for this program. It was all web-based, and I decided to make it all command line and stop paying for the domain. So open source intelligence is basically anything that you can collect from any publicly sourced data without paying for it. A lot of times, most of this information is behind a paywall, or it's behind some API that you got to pay for usage. So I'm trying to work it with scraping stuff that comes from all these free sites. I'm not a lawyer. I looked into a little about web scraping. There is some gray areas with it. So use at your own discretion. Most of these sites, I don't think they'll go after you because most of them don't have the data legally anyhow, so it should be good. Originally, a lot of the tools used originally was Maltego. You would use that, transforms and all that stuff. It was proprietary software. It comes free with Kali for the community edition. They have a paid version. I have no idea what it costs because I didn't want to pay for it. A lot of money. But yeah, it's pretty good at visualizing a lot of data resources. People have made transforms to do everything from like looking up passwords from data breaches, old emails, all that stuff. So it is really good with the resources, but again, I'm cheap. Another good source is ReconNG. Command line tool. It uses a lot of APIs. A lot of the APIs are paid, such as LinkedIn and stuff like that. So again, it's good if you can get some of the free stuff out of it, but some of the paid versions are not that great. And so this tool basically is Google. Everybody knows how to Google. A lot of times you can Google Dork and get a lot of information and cross-reference whatever information that you can get from it, and then go deeper in your search. Why is scraping better than APIs? It's cheap. I don't have to pay for some company for 1,000 hits on their API or some paywall that's $19.99 a month. There's no limitations. Basically, what we try to do to get around it. Originally, we were doing proxying and changing the headers to avoid them to stop us. They're getting a little better at stopping some stuff. I just had to update some stuff this week, but we're still getting around all of it. And it's getting all the results that we want. So basically, we just want the information. We don't want to look at a bunch of ads and crap and bullshit. So the original idea for the site was tracksomebody.com. It was basically a JavaScript-based site where you would go to the different pages. You can look up stuff by screen name, email, IP address, name, phone, etc. It would basically pop up as a window. You would put in the information, and it would just pop up different tabs with all those different sites. So instead of doing that, a lot of the browsers like Chrome and Internet Explorer, Firefox, they started blocking websites from popping up a billion tabs. So it only really worked if you let your guard down, and nobody really wants to do that with all the spam and crap. I let this domain expire last year, probably a month before I came up with this idea, and I still kicking myself because somebody took it, and I think they're asking like $5 grand for it now. I do have a legacy version on illmob.org/bookmark.html, which is basically the same thing. You click the buttons up top, and you just look up the query. I also have a license plate lookup on there where it will look up just the VIN information and the car information. You won't get the person's information or their address, because DMV gets a little pissed when you're tapping into that. But these also are bookmarklets that you can drag up on like Firefox, drag them up to your toolbar, and you can click them right from your toolbar and do it from there. You don't have to do it from the page. So basically, you would click on it, you put in the information, who it is, all that, and then it would open up all these tabs with the different information. You go through, you scrape it. That manually is a pain in the ass. So what I wanted to do with the program is basically have the same idea, hit all these websites, and then pull the information that I wanted from there, and not all the different crap with the fake sites that are trying to click you to their paywall site, pretending that they're scanning for all this information. So basically, I tried to pick out most of the good sites and get the ones that were not popping up a whole bunch of captchas, all that stuff. So I found that Python works well with BeautifulSoup. To pull the information, we're using BeautifulSoup and scraping JSON. So basically what it does is it goes to the site. The code's a little crazy. We tried over the summertime before DEF CON, we tried to update it to Python 3, and that was just a shit show. So we backtracked a little bit and went back to Python 2.7 for a little while until we can get all the stuff working. I'm not the greatest coder. I can make shit work, but like my code's a mess. This is just something I made. All the companies now, they're using buzzwords, machine learning, all this other shit. It's just if statements. That's all it's doing. So there's nothing fancy about like machine learning and all this blinky box shit, but so basically our concept is, yeah, it's in the cloud and AI and all that. So basically what the site does is scraping. It connects to the site, gathers the HTML, and then it just parses all that information with BeautifulSoup and just gets the needle in the haystack pretty much. It just produces it on the screen for you. We're adding abilities to output to Excel, Word. Right now it's just doing JSON output, which you can pretty much feed into a lot of shit. So basically, Skiptracer, this is what it is. It's a command line Python script. What it does is it has a bunch of different sections that you can do with phone, license plate, domains, IP addresses, and gives you all the choices and all the returned information from it. This example here is the phone, reverse phone. If you notice, it's Kevin Mitnick's number, which he has on his card, so I guess it's safe enough to look up without him crying about it. But it hits a couple sites, Who Called, 411 Info, True People Search, and Advanced Background Checks, and Truth Finder. And then it just displays all that information on there. With the phone, a lot of times it's tied into your personal information. You'll get stuff like your current address. If you notice at the bottom, his date of birth is at the bottom. So it basically pulls all that stuff up and cross-references it. And we don't do all the heavy lifting. We're just pulling all this stuff from the sites and just displaying it for you and doing it in quicker time. This is the email one. Had a little issues with this recently. Hacked emails, which was a breach database. They went down because of GDPR. They didn't want to get screwed about putting out people's personal information if they don't know what part of the continent or what part of the world they're in. So they basically bowed down. Have I Been Pwned is still up because they're not really showing the actual passwords and stuff like that. And Who Is Mine, which was a reverse DNS. It just basically looked if that email had registered a domain, it would put up those domains, so that would further your digital trail to find out who someone was, or if they had some sort of website that you can get some more information from. Username recon, it goes through Noam and name check, and it basically checks all these sites to see if there's accounts on there. And a lot of times I'm putting these different sites on there because there is different information from some of them. Some of them will say there's a valid account here and one here, but it's not exactly exact. So I try to get as much data as possible for people to go with, and then they can do their legwork from there, just basically compile it in one spot. Username, or first name and last name, basically, some of the sites go through and ask you where the person's from. So if they have a common name, it helps get it down to, like, if you know the zip code, maybe where they're at, or the state or the town. It will pull up anybody with that name in that area. It's going to look if it's male or female. It's going to look at their age. Some of them just ask if they're over 30. Some ask the age range. So you could basically broaden it down to get everything down. And if you look at it, still there's a lot of information that still pulls up. If you look at Kevin's information again, it's showing his date of birth, his phone numbers, some emails that he's used, and you'll see some mixed information, like that Gandhi Net email was some privacy email that was on one of his websites. So that got scooped up into some sort of database, and it's in there now. And then the one of the other ones, this is one that we just added. It was in there before, but it was just giving us issues. We're going to add a second site because this one's a little weird about the timing on it. It's basically when you hit up the plate number and the state, sometimes it says no return info, sometimes it does. As you see, it gives out the VIN information, the make and model, and where the car was built and stuff like that. I've used it like 1 or 2 times. I had a client of mine that was a liquor store, and basically somebody had stolen from there, and they didn't know what type of car it was, but they did have the plate on camera, so we figured out what type of car, gave that information up. So some of that stuff's cool. Like I said, tapping in DMV is a different story. And the last one that we have that I just started to add was the domain stuff. We're using stuff like certificate transparency to pull up the subdomains for websites and stuff like that. So in the demo, I'll go through it. Hopefully the internet's not gonna screw up on here, but we're gonna try. Yeah. So let's see if this, let me know if you guys can see this. I tried to make it as big as possible. So one of the, oops, it's off screen again. God damn it. All right. So basically, what you do, you would start it up with Python. You would call it Python skiptracer.py. It comes up with a menu. We tried to model it after kind of like a Metasploit menu or something like that, where it's just got the menus, and you go through the different questions and stuff on there. So the first one I want to do, hopefully if it works, we'll do the phone one first. I know Kevin's number works, so we'll try that. Let's see. So basically, it's going to ask you what phone number you want. You put it in there, and then it's going to go through the different sites and pull up that information, scrape that information for you. So this one, you have the option to go through all of them at one time, or you can do them singly for each site and see what information's on there. Like who called is pretty good because it tells you the carrier for it, when the phone may have been registered, or the number may have been registered. It'll give their general information and stuff like that. And then, as you see, there's different sites that you can run it through. The best one usually is advanced background checks. And if they go to a paywall, it's going to suck because they're the ones that give out most of the information that's on there. Like you'll get their addresses, you'll get relatives, you'll get their date of birth, pretty much anything about that person. A lot of times you're going to get some different information rolled in there because people like to use Kevin's number for like filling out credit cards and stuff like that. So so you will see some other stuff that's kind of spammed in there. right, and what you can do too is basically when you put in the target, as you see up top, his number is still up in the top. So it's not going to ask you again. Say if I want to go to True People Search, it's not going to ask me for that number again. Number 6, you can reset the target. It will ask you for a new phone number, and then you can go and get stuff like that. 7, option 7 will bring you back to the previous screen. So right now we're going to test out email, see if that works well. I guess we'll do just LinkedIn right now. And this uses a trick that's not a lot of people know about, but there is a URL that'll pop up that if you add the email to that URL and you're signed into LinkedIn, you'll get their information from their LinkedIn profile. The only issue with that, right now I have my my LinkedIn username and password logged in there, but if you hit this using your own profile and not like some other profile, like Kevin will get a notification that I looked at his profile, and he probably thinks I'm stalking him now. But yeah, it goes through a whole bunch of stuff. Like you won't get results. I don't think he has a MySpace anymore. Yeah, he's been a few times. So the Have I Been Pwned is pretty good because it goes through all the different data breaches that Troy Hunt gets. So if you're lucky enough to find some of this, and Kevin hasn't changed, I think it was like Mitnick666 or something was his password. If he hasn't changed it on some other site, you might be able to log into his old profiles or whatever and do what you need to do to mess with them. Yeah, well, I mean, people are still using it, I guess. And now that AIM is dead, I don't think there's a lot of people using it anymore. And Yahoo Messenger went down, all those good ones. So the next one we'll do is we'll do screen name. I'll just Condor is kind of common. What he had like a Noid with a 0, right? Yeah, I can't type. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh. So it'll show that there may be somebody, it might not be the actual Noid, but it will show that they have a password, and maybe he's doing some arts and crafts on Etsy and stuff like that. I mean, Noam is pretty good with the actual, that there's an actual account on there. Name check, sometimes it will give you a false positive where it'll pull up their, it will say that there's an account there, and you go to that account and it's a 404. But if you notice, it's kind of a common name. It may or may not be him, but I've used this a lot to find like a bunch of old friends from like 20 years ago on IRC and start pulling them into my channel. Yeah, so like this one's good. Name check is good. Yeah, name check is good because it actually shows the actual URL instead of trying to figure out what the URL for the users are. So it works pretty well in that aspect. If it gets to the end yet. So there's actually we'll see if he has a Tinder profile now. Like if I reset this and say I just do my name, and then I don't have Tinder, so it's going to be some random dude, but you can friend him if you want. So yeah, basically what that will do is it'll check Tinder, and that's basically their profile picture. It'll give you the URL for that. It'll give you the name that they put on there, and whatever bio. Sometimes the bio is where they work. Sometimes it's if they go to college, and it gives you their name if they didn't lie about it or some random age. And then the final one was the domain one that I'm still kind of working on. But basically, it uses the AXFR techniques to check the certs from the site. So if I wanted to check, why don't we do fairfield.edu? Oops, did I spell it right? Oh yeah, I can't type for shit. Fairfield. I don't know if it erased or it wrapped around. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so yeah, it just didn't wrap around. So basically, if you were doing any recon on like someone's website, it's going to pull up all those subdomains for you automatically. It's a lot easier than going to like say like DNS Dumpster, which we're going to add. DNS Dumpster has an API, but it's not paid. So we want to add that on there and add that capability because sometimes there's stuff in like DNS Dumpsters that's not showing this way. So you might get some weird subdomain that they forgot about or anybody forgot about and start your recon from there. Then I think that's most. Actually, did we do the plate? No, we did. We'll do the plate. This one is like hit or miss sometimes. Like I said, you know, if we wanted to look up who has the plate hacker, they live in Alabama. And basically, yeah, it shows you know, their VIN number, the make and model. So you can guess, you know, whoever has the plate that you want, and then you can figure out, you know, whose car it is, et cetera, blah blah blah. We are working on newer stuff and more sites to add. I started this before I started my job a few months ago, so I haven't had time to really work on it as much as I want to. But we just got all the stuff done this week to fix it. Basically, the couple guys here, I think they're on the next slide. Actually, yeah, so we're working on more plugins. We're going to work on API support for some of the sites that are free and we don't have to worry about paying for all that crap. The output we're working on, like I said, there's JSON now. DocX we have working. It's just we haven't uploaded it yet. We want to do some cool stuff with that. Also CSV, Excel spreadsheets, etc. Hopefully get around GDPR. It's just basically I don't care about it. So if it's pulling up information that I want, screw them. It's out there. So yeah, it's basically all these guys help me out in the progress of getting this to work. Shit I couldn't figure out in Python, so it's like basically now it's mine. But yeah, these guys help on a day-to-day when I have stupid questions about why something isn't working in the scraping, etc. But yeah, we're also looking for other people. If you're interested in helping out, know Python, or you know some sites that like you'd like to see that we can scrape that don't have the APIs, all the pop-ups and all that crap. You know, just hit me up on GitHub. It's there for now. I know everybody's crying about GitHub. Microsoft owns them now, and they're moving over to other crap. We're going to be there for now until we like break off to somewhere else. When the code's finally polished, we'll probably get it under something else. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's we went over a whole bunch of stuff. You got questions?
Yeah. Do you have a plugin? If somebody else wanted to write a plugin for it, do you have that option? Or?
Well, yeah. I mean, you can write the plugin. Right now, we don't have like a base plugin where you just plug in the information and try to get all that stuff out. We're probably going to get an example one to make it a little bit easier, because right now we kind of dumbed down the code a little bit because we went a little crazy with the proxying and all that stuff, and some people couldn't figure out. So we're like, okay, let's tone it down a little bit. We'll let people proxy it through Tor, et cetera, if they want to, and let them do that. And you know, if they're not using that that website too much or hitting it too much, you're not going to come up with the captchas and all that other stuff. Yep.
Right? So in the same plug a Shodan something in with my API.
Yeah, so we will get some stuff like that with.
How do you do that?
Yeah. I mean, Shodan does give the guy that runs the site is pretty nice. You know, if you're a student, I think they give you a free account with a lot of stuff. Or I hit him up. I said I ran a hackerspace, and he's like, here, have an API key. So he's pretty cool about it. But yeah, we will have that stuff and examples for people to work on stuff. But again, if you find some stuff or find any cool sites that may have some information that we can scrape easy enough, it shouldn't be that hard to really add it into there. Like I said, we're always looking here and there for new sites and trying to find the best ones that give the most information. Like advanced background checks. When we originally started that page, we didn't realize if we scroll down all the way to the bottom of the page, there was actually a JSON output. So instead of scraping that stuff and parsing it with BeautifulSoup, you just grab the JSON. I think either they updated their site this week or they're onto us, but they tried to screw with the JSON this week, so it wasn't working up until last night. We figured it out, got it working. But yeah, it's staying ahead of them, hoping that they don't go to a paywall. But for the most part, most of these sites are pretty free and get all the information. You'd be amazed at what you find. Old emails come up and pull up information on you. Like maybe before you were aware of security, you maybe filled out a credit card application that's in some crappy database that LexisNexis or somebody else bought and resold and resold and resold. But it does pull up some crazy stuff. Any other questions on anybody? Good. All right. Yeah, thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed BSides. It's their 5th year that we're doing it. One of the co-founders and co-organizers. We try to make this cooler and cooler each year. Biggest year so far. It had over 200 people sign up compared to doubling our last year's event. So, but yeah, stick around. We're gonna have like a bunch of drinks, food, all that crap afterwards. Maybe some lightning talks. Maybe. So, but yeah, thank you, everybody.
AKA beer talks.